What's up, you guys? I'm out here tanning, and I was just thinking about the first video that I made about OCD, and thinking about the fact that I didn't really touch on, sorry, I'm really sweaty, kind of ways that you can know if you are experiencing OCD. I talked about my experience a lot, but there was a couple things that I had wanted to say that I didn't say. So this is going to be a little bit of a short video where I'm just going to talk about how you can kind of know if what you're experiencing is OCD, because a lot of times when you have OCD, the OCD itself will start to make you question if what you're experiencing is OCD. And the reason it does that is because it's more threatening to you usually if what you're experiencing isn't OCD. Like if the things that OCD is trying to make you, that you fear are true about you are true. That's a big thing with OCD, is that it's hard to really gain the insight that what you're experiencing is OCD, because OCD will literally by definition make you believe that whatever you're experiencing is reality, is the truth, is the worst thing ever. And that goes for like all of the obsessions, but definitely like a lot of the mental ones, whether it's like harm related or sexual related or the POCD, or like sexuality or whatever those things may be, or just thinking, just intrusive thoughts in general. I think a lot of times that is where the OCD itself can make you question if you have OCD. So I wanted to give you guys some advice on how to know if what you're experiencing is OCD, because it is important to know that what you're experiencing is OCD before you look for treatment, because you want to look for treatment that is going to be geared towards you, and for OCD specifically, if that's what you're dealing with. And if that's not what you're dealing with, then like ERP might not be the right thing. I don't know. So basically I'm going to talk about how you can, not in a compulsive way, not in a reassuring way, just know that what you're experiencing is OCD, regardless of how the OCD is making you feel. So one thing that I always feel like I would watch videos about OCD and worry that what I was experiencing wasn't OCD. One thing I feel like I would always kind of see is just, they always talk about intrusive thoughts, and urges. And those are a big part of OCD for a lot of people. And the reason I bring that up is because when you deal with a lot of the like mental stuff where you're ruminating is the compulsion, you're trying to figure stuff out in your head, the intrusive thoughts are associated a lot with those mental OCD obsessions, a lot more so than the physical ones. And some examples of those intrusive thoughts that they'll kind of explain in other videos is like, you have an intrusive thought that you could stab someone with the knife you're holding, or you have an intrusive thought about a gruesome or graphic like sexual act that you could do, or you have an intrusive sexual thought about a child, or you have an intrusive like bad thought. Like I used to get for sure I've had intrusive thoughts, like intrusive mean thoughts about people, like intrusive thoughts that you attach meaning to, you think it means something about yourself and they scare you, right? And while those are a big part, and if you're experiencing thoughts like that, where you feel like you're fixating on these like graphic or scary thoughts that pop into your head, I think that is a good indicator that you have OCD, and you can just know you're dealing with OCD right there. I think sometimes the obsessions don't present in this way, and there's many other ways that the pure O and the rumination stuff can present that doesn't really deal with constant intrusive thoughts. So I always felt like, before I got treatment, like maybe what I'm experiencing is different, because I would see all the stuff about the intrusive thoughts. But then sometimes when my obsession would be about something that might be taboo or sexual, usually not harm related for me, but I think if it was harm related, it would be a similar situation where there wasn't really an intrusive thought coming in. It was more so just my mind is always trying to like figure something out. So it's like trying to figure something out that I'm not attracted to a certain thing, or like my intentions aren't a certain thing. Or it was actually just an actual thing that I did, right? Because like the intrusive thoughts, you have intrusive mean thoughts about people or intrusive urges to like do something bad, right? Well, sometimes that's not really what it would be for me. It would be like, I actually like did make a mistake, like genuinely I did something that maybe I regretted, or maybe genuinely a conversation didn't really go well, or maybe I genuinely offended somebody, or maybe I genuinely was dealing with certain like sexual interest or something, right? But my brain was trying to figure those things out too. So it's ruminating on those things, which aren't necessarily like just an intrusive, random, graphic thought. It's like a little bit more based in reality, but it's still presenting in a way that's OCD. So the reason I bring all that up is because sometimes I feel like videos can get a little hung up on the intrusive thought thing. Like, well, it's not OCD if it, like, acting like it's only OCD if it's like this crazy out of left field intrusive thought you had. When in reality, you could be ruminating on things that aren't completely out of left field, that maybe are based a little bit more in reality, or like it's just, even if it is out of left field, you're ruminating about it, but it's not coming up in like an intrusive way. Like you're just genuinely like trying to figure it out all day, but it's not based in like intrusive images. So either way, I think that's one of the main reasons I'm making this video, is because I always struggled with that distinction. But either way, you can just let go of that distinction altogether. And I'll tell you the ways that you can know if you are dealing with OCD that have nothing to do with whether it's intrusive thoughts or not. Okay. And this is especially helpful. This video is especially helpful for people who deal with more of the internal mental, pure O stuff that's normally associated with intrusive thoughts. So I think the way to know if what you're experiencing mentally is OCD is to take a step back and look at the obsession that you're dealing with now. And a couple ways that have helped me to kind of like know a thought is maybe an OCD thought, even though that can be a compulsive thing, but to know that I'm experiencing OCD with around a certain subject, because sometimes it can be a little bit wishy-washy, like what's just normal logic versus what's the OCD. If you're thinking about something many, many times, right? If you're going over and over and over, and you're finding that whatever this is, whether it came in from an intrusive thought or just the thought that you just want to figure this out, that you just have this urge to figure something out, right? If you're thinking about it over and over and over, and you find that you're going through repetitive thought loops, and those thought loops are kind of to come to some sort of answer that you think will make you feel better, then that's OCD, right? You don't even have to question it, even if what you're ruminating about is based in truth. So that's one thing that you have to realize, is that OCD can also latch onto things that are based somewhat in truth. Like maybe you did make a mistake, or maybe you are actually homosexual, or maybe you are actually sexually into a certain thing that's more taboo, right? Or maybe, maybe you did do something harmful. I don't know. You know what I mean? And that's not to scare you. It's more so just to show that you shouldn't care whether it's true or not. That's not how you label if it's OCD. That's what the point of this video is that you shouldn't care if it's intrusive, and you shouldn't care if it's true, because those are things that you're going to have to let go of the certainty of, along with the certainty in all other aspects of OCD, right? So let go of those ideas and more so focus on, okay, literally how many times have I gone through this thought process? Just like you would say, okay, if I check the door 30 times, that's OCD. If I check it one time, it's not. How many times are you checking through memories? How many times are you doing mental compulsions where you're trying to figure something out in whatever way that looks like for you? If you're doing it a million freaking times and it's lasting many days or hours or whatever it may be, or years, then that's OCD, okay? And even though you might still be dealing with an actual problem to solve, it could be real, it could be not. What you can know for sure is that a normal person without OCD would not be responding to it like this. Okay, so they wouldn't be doing the thought process that you're doing, regardless of how real or how scary the thing is, because they don't have OCD. So if you're thinking about something a million times, like an excessive number of times in a loop, then you know it's OCD. And another thing that my therapist taught me over the last summer when I started therapy was that a way to kind of know something is going to be a compulsion or something is, an OCD urge, right? To find certainty is if this like action or thought, thought for when we're talking about the pure O type stuff feels like it's urgent. So if you notice that there's a sense of urgency to, I need to figure this out right now. I need to solve this right now. I need to check this in my mind or in the physical world right now. That is also a really good way to know that it's OCD, because the reason that there's urgency around it is because this action or thought process is based in anxiety and based in fear, meaning that your brain feels as if it's urgent because it feels like you're trying to run away from something. It's almost, I don't know necessarily the science behind it, but it might be kind of related to fight or flight. It's like there is an urgency around this thing, right? You're anxious about it. And when you notice that urgency is so strong around a certain thought process that you're trying to have, right? Solution you're trying to come to. Like another word I use to kind of describe those mental compulsions, it's rumination. It's like solving a Rubik's Cube. It's like there's an urge to figure something out, to problem solve, right? When you notice that urge is extremely urgent, meaning you're not like, okay, it's on my to-do list today. Like I'm going to kind of think about, what I'm going to figure this out later. No, if it feels like it needs to happen right now, especially if it feels like it needs to happen right now to escape a negative feeling. I don't feel good. I don't feel like I'm in the moment. I don't feel present. I don't feel happy. I need to do this right now to get rid of that. That's another big indicator that it's OCD. Again, it doesn't matter what your obsession is, and it doesn't matter how real or how not real or how recent or how old or how intrusive or how true it seems to you. It doesn't matter. If you are problem solving it in this way, if you're problem solving it in this urgent way and repetitive way, then you are dealing with it in an OCD way. And the reason that this method works to know that it's OCD, regardless of the actual obsession, regardless of the material of the actual obsession, sorry, my arm's getting tired, is because this is a way that you're able to identify that what you're doing is a compulsion. So you're able to ignore the obsession for a second and notice that you're doing compulsions, because those are present in all forms of OCD. Even if you think you don't have them, they can be mental. They don't have to be physical in the real world. That's why pure O, there isn't really such thing as pure O, pure obsessive. They really just mean that the compulsion is mental and not visible. So they call that pure O because it's just, all in your head. But there is always a compulsion present, because if there was no compulsion, that means that you don't feel the urge to do anything to figure this out. You don't feel the urge to get certainty. The compulsions are always the thing or the thoughts that you're doing to get the certainty. So I don't think I really have many other strategies than that. Those are the two ways to really take a look at the thought processes that you're doing and notice if they're urgent or repetitive, to identify if what you're dealing with is OCD. I guess you could also just take a look back at your overall life and notice if it's just affecting your overall well-being, right? Normal people, even if they have a certain uncertainty about themselves or about something taboo or about something they did in the past, or about something in the future, it doesn't impact their life as detrimentally as it does for people with OCD. So that's the thing you need to realize. That's a realization that's important to come to as you tackle your OCD, is that it's not really about the problem that you're specifically focusing on, which OCD is going to have you so caught up in. Oh, there's a dragonfly here. Which OCD is going to have you so caught up in thinking about this obsession that you're going to think that you're different. You're going to think that you're not like everyone else. You're going to think you can't talk about what your obsession is about, because those are the types of things that it's going to feed off of. You're going to think, well, that's not like me because I actually did make a mistake, or this might actually be true about me, or whatever. It's going to make you think that, right? That's the nature of OCD. So you have to realize that it's not actually about the subject matter. It's about the thought process around it. The thought process is abnormal, not the subject matter. The subject matter could exist possibly in anyone's mind, right? It could be something that's more unique to you, which is totally fine. But theoretically, Someone could be exactly you and have had all of your life experiences and all of your uncertainties and fears and doubts, right? And not care. Do you get what I'm saying? I hope that makes sense to you. That someone could literally be put in your shoes and have all the same uncertainties that you have and not care. And be like, whatever, fuck it, and move on. That difference is because you have OCD, not the uncertainty. That's not the difference between you and a person who doesn't care. Get what I'm saying? So I hope that this helps you to know, to understand yourself a little bit better and maybe be a little bit more knowledgeable on how to identify if you have OCD. I was going to say certain, but we don't want to get certainty with OCD. But I hope this just kind of helps you feel a little bit more comfortable with the idea of what OCD is and how it probably applies to you, even if you're worrying that it's not, because that's part of the OCD. Okay. And you're going to have to come to terms with that uncertainty as well, right? It's all about accepting uncertainty and allowing it all to sit there and marinate and feel uncomfortable. And if an uncertainty you're dealing with is what if it's not OCD, that's just another uncertainty you're going to have to deal with the same way you would deal with washing your hands, right? So let me know what you think of this video in the comment section below, if you relate to any of these experiences and just your thoughts in general, because I am not a licensed mental health professional, so take this all with a grain of salt. But I do have personal experience with OCD and with going through treatment, and so I do, have enough, have my own experience to share with you guys, and that's all I can speak for. Okay, so let me know your thoughts in the comments below on the topics of this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and take care.